Hello and welcome to another edition of Nasdaq Spotlight. I'm your host, Alan Schoenberg. In recent years, we've seen a resurgence in people discussing and embracing mindfulness. Our guest today is no stranger to this topic. He's the author of more than 85 books on health, love, happiness, spirituality, and success, and his latest book, MetaHuman: Unleashing Your Infinite Potential, is soon to be released. Time magazine has described him as one of the top 100 heroes and icons of the century. We are so pleased to have in our studio today Deepak Chopra. Deepak, welcome to Nasdaq.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here.
Thank you. It's a privilege.
So let's talk about your new book, MetaHuman: Unleashing the Infinite Potential. What do you mean by infinite potential?
First, what do I mean by meta-human? And then we can get there. So meta means beyond.
Okay.
And human, in this case, refers to the human conditioned mind. So our mind is a conditioning of infinite potential into finite experience. Right now, what we're having is an experience in finite time, space and time. So meta-human is going beyond that to the field of infinite possibilities, infinite potential, the immeasurable potential of all that is, all that was, all that will be. The awareness of the mind is not the mind, by definition. If you're aware of something, then you're not that which you're aware of. The awareness of this experience is not the experience. The observer of the mind, the observer of emotions, the observer of perceptual activity, which we call the mind, body, and the world, that's a unified experience in human consciousness that you're interpreting as mind, body, and universe. What is it that knows knowing? So what is the source of all knowing, the source of all thinking, the source of all emotions, the source of all imagination, intuition, insight, creativity, vision, possibility? What is that? That's what we call the inner self. Now, spiritual traditions may call it the soul, cognitive scientists call it conscious agent, whatever. It doesn't matter what the name is, but you're the source of all knowing and experience, which is infinite. For every thought you've had, there are infinite more that you can have. For every image you've had, every bit of imagination, there's infinite more. For every question you've had, there are infinite more questions. That's who we are, infinite potential.
And the infinite thoughts on those, in terms of the potential and where that can take us is where we're at today.
It's the source of all creativity, all experience.
So I'm going to jump ahead, and there's a quote in the book that I really enjoyed. We can talk about this, and it's in line with that. Because we live in the golden age of neuroscience, you would think that someday there would be a user's manual for the mind, but that day will never come. Our view is blocked by the mistake of equating mind and brain. So this idea of mind and brain.
The mind is subjective experience, thoughts, feelings, images, everything that we experience constantly. There's an inner dialogue going on right now.
Correct, always.
It never shuts up.
Right.
The brain is the objective correlate of that. So if whatever experience you're having right now, there's a signal for that. There's a signature. It's called neurochemistry. You have electrochemistry. But you're not experiencing the brain. You're experiencing this. It's being recorded in the brain in that cryptographic code, which no one understands. They call it the neural correlates of experience. So mind and brain go together, but they're not fundamental reality. Fundamental reality is the consciousness in which both mind and body are changing experiences. Your body is a changing experience. Actually, it's a perceptual activity which is constantly changing, which we call the body. So is the world. A changing experience of perceptual activity, we call it the world. New York City, but there's no New York City in the absence of perceptual activity. So there's nothing in the absence of consciousness, nothing. No mind, no body, no universe. That is what we're getting at. The brain and mind and body and the world are a unified activity in you. The you is not the brain, not the body, not the world, but that in which this activity is happening. the activity that we call thought, perception, imagination, feelings, emotions, everything that we call reality is happening in a domain, for lack of a better word, we call it the self,
Right.
or awareness or consciousness, which is not in space-time, because even space-time are an experience in you.
So a lot there, self-talk, space-time, self-consciousness. I think one of the things that makes and brings that together are the idea of habits and rituals. And you have in the book at the end these 31 days of really self-evaluation. And where you
The
create
31-day exercise at the end
Yeah.
of the book is step by step, starting at kindergarten to PhD,
Right.
of how you expand your awareness, and as a result, how you expand your experience of what we call everyday reality. Everyday reality is a projection of the conditioned mind, but the conditioned mind is through history, religion, economics, everything that we call experience.
Yeah.
What is prior to that is where we go, expansion in the direction of infinity, which is who we are.
Yeah, and those experiences can become, I guess, through habits and rituals.
Habits and rituals have a way of channeling energy, trapping it, and then directing it into experience, which we call everyday reality.
One thing we talked about earlier was the idea of technology and the role technology plays today. I know you have your podcast, Daily Breath, which I'm a regular listener. You have YouTube. How does technology play into all this? There's so many.
See, the
different
way
things.
I see technology is it's the evolution of human consciousness, therefore it's unstoppable. Either we adapt to it and use it the way we want, creatively, or we become irrelevant. That's a Darwinian principle. You have to adapt to change. So technology is an irreversible aspect of our evolution as a human species. Now we can use it for diabolical purposes. We can create nuclear bombs and biological warfare and climate change and actually create conflict through the internet, as is being done right now. Or we can give people useful information. How do they invest? How do they make a better life?
Right.
How do they expand their awareness? How do they improve their health? How do they use bioregulation for self-regulation and healing? So technology is giving us aspects into things we never were aware of, how our experience of life changes gene expression, epigenetics, neuroplasticity, how you can rewire the brain, ultimately how you can rewire the global brain, which is the internet,
Right.
for a happier, healthier, joyful, sustainable world. It all depends on us. We are the creators of technology, so don't pretend to be a victim of it.
Yeah, and the creators of our own experience.
And the
right?
creators of our own experience.
Another thing I really enjoyed about the book was that each chapter walks you through a specific principle to get to where we're going. Is there a principle that sticks out for you?
Well, ultimately, there's only one principle. You and the universe are awareness and modified forms of awareness. So if you get in touch with your innermost being, which is not your mind, the mind is the activity of the being, okay? Awareness, consciousness, your true self, your soul, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, that's the source, the presence in which all experience occurs. So there's only one message in different forms. You and the universe are awareness. Expand your awareness in the direction of infinity. Anything less is a compromise.
Okay, so this is your 90th book.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there a common theme that you have found throughout the years, or themes from all of your writings, your interviews with so many people, your experiences?
Yes, the common theme is healing. The word healing comes from the word wholeness. So healing is the return of the memory of wholeness. Healing, holy, wholeness are the same word. So I started as an internist, then I went on to become an endocrinologist, then I studied brain chemistry, then I got interested in mind-body medicine, now integrative medicine, and now what's the source of all this knowing, which is consciousness? So there is a common theme, and that is moving in the direction of wholeness and healing and health and joy.
Great. Well, Deepak, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on
Thank you, Alan.
another book.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Nasdaq Spotlight. Stay tuned for more programming from Nasdaq and continue to follow us on our social media channels.
Thank you.